hope that's the start of the episode. I hope that's what they start listening to. Me just destroying some of that lime deliciousness. You know, it's interesting. I've never seen these cans specifically in this like tall version. I've only ever seen them in this version. I guess obviously the different mills, but I've never seen these before. This is quite interesting. I have these at home all the time. One of the things that my missus said to me when we move in together, she goes, I want the fridge stocked and like the cans to be facing the same way. Like when you go to the supermarket, it's all very nicely and neatly organized on the shelves. That is mildly very satisfying. Mildly very satisfying. It's very satisfying. I just think that we talk about this at the gym all the time. There is an individual in our gym who lives what I would deem a very chaotic existence because nothing has a place. So like when I get to the gym, right? This is my gym routine of when I arrive. Say hi to whoever's at the desk, whatever. If Luke's there, we'll talk some shit. But most of the time, I'm just beelining for the staff room. Go to the staff room, leather lounge in the corner. That's where I put my shit. I take my laundry bag with all my clothes in it. That's already been sorted. It's got towel, underwear, rash guard shorts. I tip all that out. I fold the laundry bag this way, not this way. Then I fold the towel into a square. I put the laundry bag on the square. I'm realizing as I'm saying this, it's going to sound so fucking autistic, but at least I know where all my shit is at all times. Fold the square towel, fold the laundry bag in half of the towel as a rectangle. And then it has the handles that will usually stick out, but I'll fold them over so it's like a nice square look. Then I'll take all my shit off. So I've got car keys, phone, watch, chain. All of that will come off and it'll be laid in a nice, neat little rectangle section that the laundry bag creates. Then I'll get changed into the training gear and then the shirt comes off and gets folded into a square. And then the shorts come off and get folded into a square as well. And then the shorts go on top of the shirt because the shorts are the thing that I put on first. And then the shirt is the thing that I put on second. And there's a system and there's an order and it's replicable and repeatable so that I never have to fucking think about for the rest of my days where my shit is. Whereas this select individual just goes, nah, fuck all that. Wherever my shoes come off is wherever my shoes come off. Wherever my shirt is wherever my shirt goes. And then just constantly loses things. And I'm like, I wonder if I could figure out what was happening for you to be losing the shit. And it absolutely baffles me. And I have the same system for when I get home. I have the same system for when I do laundry. I have the same system for cooking food or anything like that. It's all organized and just repeatable. I have the same system for creating content. I have the same system for studying jiu-jitsu. I have the same system for here. Like all of the things that I do are systemized. And like even my mentor, Dan, he even takes it even further. And he has a replenishment system. So if he's got like 3 scoops left in the protein powder tub, that tub goes in a specific spot in the kitchen that the house manager, I know it sounds like real rich, wanky, but it's fucking a sick idea, especially if you can afford it. A house manager will see that the protein tub is in the replenishment spot and reorder the tub so that it comes within the next 3 days because it's 1 scoop a day, whatever. Puts the tub back in the original position. And then 2 days later, before the tub runs out, there's a brand new tub there. I froth that so hard. It just makes your life so easy, so simplified, and so repeatable. And as well, like you only have so much that you could do in a day. Why do you want to dedicate it to mundane bullshit tasks that you literally just don't have to repeat? Like if you're repeating something that you don't have to every single day, you're just wasting so much fucking time. So much time. And I've been back and forth with this on this with people. They're like, oh, you spend so much money on coffee. Because I get 3 or 4 a day depending on the day. Sometimes 5 a day, but that's very rare. Maybe Fridays after podcast day. because I feel a little bit zapped sometimes after this. I need a little pick me up after fucking got some videos to film and whatever. And that's like, $20 to $25. I don't even know how much it is because I don't fucking care, because I value what it gives me and the fact that I just don't have to make it. Could make it, could buy a fucking machine, could order the beans, could do this thing, but it just adds complexity. I mean, sure, if I get the beans on a subscription, all these sorts of things, but then I've got to make sure that the machine gets cleaned and decalcified, I believe the name is, because the wand goes into milk and then the milk gets to a high temperature, and then you can have build up on the inside of the wand, and then that's a big fucking problem. And I've got to worry about that now. I just don't want to worry about it. I let the fucking staff at the cafe worry about that. There's things that you can do to streamline your existence. Like getting a virtual assistant. Get a fucking virtual assistant. If an email comes through and it's important, I will see it. If it's not important, I won't fucking see it. The beauty of that is that people I get sponsorship requests and all that sort of stuff. And I've just got a heuristic on a checklist to say, if it is XYZ, pass it on to me. If it's not XYZ, delete it. So I haven't had to delete an email or check an email or fucking look at any of them for ages. And it's been wonderful, because every single time you read something like that, it's a distraction. Every single time it's a distraction. Like, I think the news is probably one of the biggest fucking distractions of all time. That people just keep hooking into it because it is mildly addictive. Because it pushes all the right buttons for people. There's a certain amount of fear there. There's a certain amount of aggression. There's a certain amount of consequence of a situation where they perfectly hook you in right at the very end just to make sure that you watch the next episode. Like if you start creating content, you look at TV shows, news, any of that on like mainstream media, you realize actually how good they are at hijacking your attention. The screen will change every 2 to 3 seconds. Movies do this as well. Different camera angles, different views, different zooms. And if you really get into it, I got super into it at one stage, off the back of getting into James Smith's course, actually his mentorship, which is fucking fantastic, by the way. If you are a small content creator, I recommend that you thoroughly look into that. I also have a mentorship, so if you like me better, maybe do mine. Up to you. But his was really good and I got a lot out of it. So I always recommend it to people because I want to see winners fucking win. And if you've got the mentality that you think you can do something, I want you to fucking back yourself and believe that you can do it. And if you have to spend a couple grand with somebody like me or somebody like James Smith or anybody else that you deem appropriate to guide you into that solution to fulfilling your fucking dream, do it. Bet on yourself. The biggest investment, Hormozy goes over this all the time. Hormozy says this all of the time. People ask him, and people ask Dan, and people ask James, and people ask all these individuals, what could I do to invest $1,000? Don't fucking invest it. 1%, 10% returns on $1,000 is fuck all. You are never going to build a massive portfolio off of that. Comparative to, yes, of course, compound interest over many, 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 many decades. Sure, but you don't want to be rich in your 70s when you can't fucking drive a Ferrari because your hip's fucked. You don't want that. You want to drive a Ferrari in your mid to late 30s. That's what you want. That's what I want. Maybe it's not what you want. Okay, maybe, fine. But still, you would want the supercar in your 30s, not in your fucking late 70s. It doesn't make any sense then. It's like, yeah, sick, I got a Ferrari, but I can't use it. It's uncomfortable and it's too loud and my hearing aid's fucked. Why would you want that? You wouldn't. Anyway, the best way that you can spend money when you don't have a lot of money is investing in yourself. Buy a fucking course or a coaching program or something that you think is going to accelerate you. And it's really easy to see who's going to scam you and who's not. If they are a teenager, do not fucking buy it. I don't care how good they pretend to be. If they're a teenager, don't buy it. It's very simple. Very, very, very simple. I've invested more than $100,000 at least in the last 2-3 years. And I've never been fucked over once. Never been scammed, ever. Not once. Not happened. You know why? Because I vetted the people that were fucking supplying the information that I wanted, that they had neatly collected and collated over decades of experience and have proved that they could do what they said they were going to do with other people. It's very fucking easy to see that. Like even one of my first business mentors, Sam, he was my second or third. Third. He was my third. He ran a gym in Adelaide with fucking phenomenal reviews. Phenomenal reviews. And the only reason I met Sam is because he was part of a business mentorship that I was also a part of before him, as one of the coaches and teachers and somebody who was a valued asset to be able to teach certain things to personal trainers. And so not only was he validated from his reviews from his gym that was fucking great, he was also validated from the reviews of the business coach who was running the business mentorship on this side of things, who was also great and also was looking at him as a valued asset. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Easy way to fucking park money. No problem. And it was great. It was a fucking fantastic investment. And then I moved on to, who did I go to then? Then I went to somebody else. What was the one in between that? What was the one in between that? I can't remember. There was one more in between me buying James Smith's course. But anyway, then I got to his. And you know what? The truth is, after you make sure that they're not a scam and not a complete fuckwit and they're actually going to deliver on what they say, the biggest thing in terms of information products is that you must be willing to make it work. You cannot rely on it to do the work for you. The best information, to be fair, is out there. It exists. It's on YouTube. If you want to learn how to day trade, go on YouTube, watch as many videos as you can from one person. Key hack, pro tip, one person. Dive all in on one person. Because otherwise you're going to get conflicting information, you get confused, you'll hesitate, you'll stall, you won't do the thing. Just go all in on a guy that you like. Oh, that's right. It wasn't necessarily a business mentorship, but it was a day trading course with my mate Mats and George. If you want to do day trading and you want a legit guy who doesn't flash fucking gay Lambos on the internet that's rented, he's the guy. A legit savant. A savant. Fucking very intelligent. Very, very, very intelligent. Used to be an engineer, got into day trading, and then has just made it extremely profitable over a decade. I think he's been doing it for now. Where was I going with that? You have to be willing to make it work. And when I got into Matt's course, it was COVID period or just after COVID. It just finished. Or maybe it was during the second lockdown. I remember because I was driving to the gym. I was being naughty when I wasn't meant to. And yeah, it was because I was lifting weights in the morning and then I would come off that and then trade all day on the simulator. And then I would go to jiu-jitsu at night because we're only doing one session a day because it's too hectic to do 2 sessions a day. And we had to do it at night because it was a super secret covert operation until we got ousted by some lesbians down at the bike shop. And I'm not calling them lesbians because they were dudes that were pussies. They were just like legit lesbians. Anyway, it's a story for another time. You got to be willing to put in as much as you possibly can. And so because I had so much time, I just rep on the simulator. And that's what Matt recommended to do before going to a live account. And so I just dedicated 3-4 hours into making it work. And I used to have a little trading journal that I would send to Matt, and he'd overview it and look at it and look at your P&L, and he'd look at how you followed the system and what trades you made, why. And he goes, your trading journal is by far the most accurate that I've ever received out of all of my mentorship students. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That means I'm going to be a fucking trillionaire in the next week. I was wrong. Turns out when you come off the simulator, your emotions do get into it quite a fair bit. Especially when you don't have a shit ton of money to waste, can be a little bit painful. I was doing okay, but I certainly wasn't in a position to be losing hundreds of dollars at a time. And obviously his system of operating makes sure that you use the lowest risk for the highest reward possible. But you've got to be willing to put in that effort to make the information work. I used to record the Zoom meetings and then watch it back and watch it back and watch it back and watch it back and watch it back until I felt confident that I'd be able to perform what he was telling me on the simulator. And I'd break it down piece by piece by piece by piece. And I would execute step 1, then I'd execute step 2, and I'd go, oh, I didn't really get the result out of step 2 that I was after. Back to the video, watch the video, back to step 2, execute step 2, win. Back to step 3, execute, brilliant. Go to step 4, fuck it up. Go back to the video, watch, apply step 4. And I would just go systematically like it through that. And then I got the fucking highest review based on what he was telling me from all of his other students. And that's when I started to really realize it's not like the thing that you're buying from people when you're investing in mentorships or anything like that is belief. That's what you're buying. You're buying and borrowing belief from an individual that has done what you would like to do to prove to yourself that you can do it by allowing them to see in you what you should be seeing in yourself. But you're not quite there yet. Not quite there. And this is why I've invested so heavily to get into these rooms of people, although they're virtual because it's over Zoom and whatever. I've obviously met Matt a handful of times since then because we became friends. It was crazy. I knew him as Matty the Natty. He had this crazy physique transformation as a natural guy. Got like dick skin lean, like really stupid lean. And very, very impressive transformation. And then he had like 300,000 followers or something crazy in like, I want to say 2014, 2015, around there. And nuts. Just crazy physique. And I met him once at Norwest Anytime when I was training with a mate of mine. Recognized him kind of like a second glance. And I looked and I was like, dude, I think that's Matty the Natty. And my mate who was with me at the time also used to follow him. And the reason why we were so taken aback is because he deleted his Instagram and basically just went off the face of the earth. I never saw his posts ever again. And since I got to know him, I got to know the story a little bit better, where he got this crippling body dysmorphia, weird relationship to food. Because when you're a natural, you do have to work. This is the thing. Natty, unnatty, you have to work incredibly hard. It does not fucking matter. I think natty's slightly more difficult because the bounce back isn't as easy. You can't retain as much muscle, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I know I'm not a professional expert on this, but you have to work incredibly hard in both circumstances, whether you're enhanced, whether you're not enhanced. And that goes for everything, by the way. It goes for everything. Yes, it's a fucking advantage. Of course it is. But if it's an advantage for you doing a bunch of shit, lazy work because you think it's going to take you to a place, the promised land, you're going to fall flat on your face every single day of the week. There are 19-year-old kids blasting a bunch of gear that look like fucking poo. And they just think because they're on gear, they can just look however they want. And they're going to start looking like Chris Bumstead, which is just not the case at all. You would actually be surprised watching this. Maybe you wouldn't be. Maybe you train at a jiu-jitsu gym and you know a bunch of people on TRT that look like poo. This is a funny way to say it. You have a poo physique. You might be surprised to understand that there are more people on performance-enhancing drugs that look like they aren't than there are natties that just look like they're not on drugs. Does that even make sense? No. I'm going to scratch that. I'm going to go back. There are shitloads of people on performance-enhancing drugs that you could never tell, which is a big problem. A huge problem. I'd rather be a natty getting accused of usage than the other way around. Imagine getting accused of natty when you weren't. Whew, tough go, that one. But anyway, he decided that wasn't for him. Competitive bodybuilding was too much of a mind fuck, and he's going to stay away from it because the binge eating afterwards, I always used to describe it to personal training clients. When you go too heavily restrictive on your diet and you say, I can't have this, you focus on the negatives and the can'ts. It's essentially you pulling back on a bow like this, and you just keep pulling back, keep pulling back, keep pulling back, keep pulling. eventually the bow runs out of room to pull back, and it's got to have a release point. And the release point, the harder you pull back, the more it's going to come, the more violently it's going to come past you, and you're just going to go full on Krispy Kreme mode. Give me a dozen, make sure they're all different, and then I'm just going to pound the whole thing. Newsflash, it's not fucking good for you, no matter what condition or what shape you're in. Crazy things that bodybuilders do to themselves on like a drug perspective, but then also on a binge eating perspective. It's insane. Some of the diets that I've seen is crazy. And I've been around a fair few competitive bodybuilders, not that they're like pros or anything, but they've done like amateur competitions and all that sort of stuff. And the bounce back and the diet that they commit to post show is horrible. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of cookies and Cinnabon and all this good shit. My missus got me some Cinnabon cake from Woolworths. Apparently it's blowing up on TikTok at the moment. Just business hack, by the way. I don't know if Woolworths does this on purpose, or maybe Coles or something. I don't know if they do this on purpose. They probably should if they want to. Well, they're already doing it anyway, so they're already getting the results as if they were doing it anyway. Just get something to go fucking viral on TikTok. Maybe even if you have to pay a bunch of creators for some user-generated content like UGC, just using your shit, or maybe if you sell cakes or cookies or something like that, just pay a bunch of mid-tier influencers to say that they're the shit. I guarantee you just everything that goes nuts that is like trending in terms of consumption, products, food, all that jazz, the way that you capture the market on TikTok is really important. Like Gary Vee's been shouting from the rooftops that TikTok Shop and TikTok live shopping and all that sort of stuff is the play. Like live shopping. He was saying it in like 2017, which is kind of crazy. But that's definitely like that guy, what's his name? Rob something. I'm sure you've seen him on Instagram. He wears those stupid yellow glasses. I don't know why guys on Instagram, like influencers, always wear like red or yellow glasses. Maybe it's a thing that I'm missing. I'm not sure. I'd rather just not look like an idiot. But anyway, he sold a supplement company in his early 20s or late 20s for $20 million, which is pretty cool. Just based off TikTok Shop. It just exploded, had a couple of viral videos go nuts, and people went crazy for it. And then the cool thing with TikTok Shop is you can get affiliates to sign up as a creator. So then they just have to use the product in a video. And if they've got a decent sized audience that's engaged, then it's just going to go like this. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool idea. If you're running a product-based business, I definitely recommend you figure out Gen Z marketing and TikTok Shop, because that's a huge opportunity. Massive, massive, massive opportunity. And you see it all the time. There's TikTok creators who are making $1 million a month just off, not referrals, affiliates. $1 million a month, affiliate. That's pretty crazy. And they have like 300,000 followers. Real easy to get followers on TikTok. They don't really mean much. They mean a lot more on Instagram. But even the way that it's going now, it's kind of veering more into what, who was I listening to talk about this? They were talking about interest meter versus social media. It's not necessarily a social thing where followers are the most important. It's more so like an interest algorithmic thing, because the algorithms are so good at deciding what you want to see and why you want to see it, that the video that should find you will find you. I had a funny Instagram reel yesterday. It's like the algorithms are so fucking good that you want proof that they're watching over you, over your every mind. This has no tags, no music, no caption, nothing related to anything about this video. And it's been sent to you because you're a racist. And I was like, ha, shit, you got me. We were talking about this at the gym the other day. And I was talking about this as well at the cafe that I was just at. And the chef had a mate of his who was in a pretty big corporate role. And he got fired for racism for acknowledging another person's culture and the fact that they might be the one that should make the decision on the food that should be catered for the event that is in their culture, because they would have the best know-how to be able to facilitate a great event. I won't give any of the details because then I might step on some toes that I shouldn't be stepping on because he told me that in confidence, and now I'm blasting it into the internet to 30 people. But anyway, imagine it's an English holiday. It wasn't, but imagine it's an English holiday and there's an English guy that works there, and you go, hey, Grant, you would be great at setting this up because you're English and it's an English holiday. That was the long and short of the story. And he got fired because somebody brought that up and said that that's racist. Are you fucking stupid? How, by any stretch of the imagination, is that racist? Unbelievable. You can't make certain hand signals because then you get called a racist. Ridiculous. Like things that used to be funny in the early 2000s, in the mid 2000s, that you could say with the boys joking around, intentionally joking. It's a very different story. Don't get me wrong. It's a very different story if you go up to somebody and you have hatred and insidious intentions behind your words and you say, fuck you, you're this, you're that, you're this, like you're dirty because you're this and that. All right, fair enough. But you're also just a shit person for saying that. You know what I mean? If you are joking with mates, well-intentioned, you should have the right to be able to say whatever the fuck you want as long as you're not trying to hurt that individual. And the borders of this are so insane from my perspective because you can rag on certain people, but then you can't rag on certain others. Like we can rip on one of my training partners for having red hair and no one bats an eye. That poor cunt might have a big problem with that, but because it's a hair color, no one gives a shit. If we were ragging on him for being a certain type of race, well then, yeah, okay, maybe some people might have a problem with that. But it's a weird logic. I don't understand it. And it's this weird virtue signaling white knighting culture that you could just get against somebody like, yeah, you're the worst thing ever. You're racist. You're like, fucking shut up, cunt. It's like, it's not as big of a problem as people make it. Even the height of irony. The height of irony. There is I don't know if he's the prime minister or the president in one of the African nations. He's in Zimbabwe or Nambia or Ghana or one of these countries. And he is educating this podcast of these two different hosts about the issues with their country. And they're saying, yeah, it's because of this and it's because of white people and all that sort of stuff. He goes, no, hang on a minute. It's not because of any of that. And then he goes through a very logical argument and goes, you know what? We do not even have, I think it was actually in Ethiopia, possibly, or Kenya. I don't know. It was one of the African countries. I can't remember. And he said, what is the direct translation in your language for the word maintenance? They don't have it. They don't have a word for maintenance, maintaining something. They don't have it. It is not a concept within their culture. Much like we differentiate between beauty standards from the West to Africa to the East. In a lot of African nations, it's actually the discoloration in Western ideals of the yellowness of your teeth in some instances, or the disc that hangs within your mouth. Like in the West, we think that's kind of weird, but then it's obviously got cultural significance in the African countries. They think that us getting veneers is fucking retarded, because it is a little bit, because no one has perfect straight white teeth all the time. It's really weird. But it's interesting to see the differentiations between that. And that's just something that happens. They just don't have a word for maintenance. And then when you get into this white knighting and virtue signaling bullshit, where it's actually a lot of white liberal people that are just going, oh yeah, but we just treated them so fucking bad and all that sort of stuff. Don't get me wrong. There has been a massive amount of atrocities committed, but it's all sides, both sides, up like every which way from Sunday. If you really want to get into it, as every nation on earth, every race on earth has persecuted another nation at one point in time. For as soon as we evolved into the humans that we are currently, We've been killing each other. We've been fighting over arguments of this. I think the fucking sky's this color. I think this constellation means this. And just such nominal, trivial bullshit. We just fight and kill each other over. That's the big problem, is it's always trivial crap. It's always like, I think this and you think that, so let's fucking kill each other. Why? Doesn't make any sense. But then the extrapolated version of that is reputation destruction, reputation killing, where people think that, oh, you're a horrible person because you said this about one person and it completely taken out of context, and then you're this. I'm going to try and destroy your reputation because you're a terrible person. You're like, well, were you there? Do you know exactly what was said? Do you know if it was said in jest or whether it was malicious intent? I don't know. Look, there's a lot of context that's missing from these situations. That people just blanket statement people. They're just like, yeah, you're that. And then also the funny thing is that people think that words have such a distinct power that you would now have to be living under this curtain of shame because somebody said one word to you once. And you're like, well, if you're an adult, most people don't operate like that. You can call me whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. It's not going to change anything I do. It is what it is. Okay, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. All right. You think I'm a dickhead? Fine. I'm a dickhead. To you. Great. To many other people, I'm not. Fantastic. You think I'm a massive piece of shit? All right, fair enough. Maybe in the instance that we had our brief interaction, maybe I was. Maybe I was having a shit day. Who knows? But that's the thing, right? You want to blanket statement people and put them underneath this fucking umbrella, and then it's like, now you're evil because you said this. And you're like, dude, it's really not that serious. Again, obviously, the caveat is if you're just known as being a piece of shit, you're an awful person to be around, and you just spew hate at people. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You're a bit of a dickhead. But that's just some people, and some people you're just not going to like. And that's the way it is. But this whole like reputation destruction and the whole like cancel culture crap, fuck, give it a rest, mate. They tried to do it to a bunch of comedians. I don't think it's really, maybe I'm not paying as much attention to it as I once was, but there is another caveat to this. If you are like any which way doing nefarious things with underage, okay, that's the difference. It's like there's no excusing anything to do with that whatsoever. And I literally cannot believe that there are some people on earth that believe that individuals of that, I don't even think I can say it on YouTube, but individuals of that nature are like, they can't help themselves. Like they're mentally ill. Yeah, I know they're fucking mentally ill. That's why they should be castrated. That's why they should be hung. Like there is no excuse for that. I'm a dad now. I look into my daughter's eyes and every single negative and bad thing on earth dissipates. It goes away. The purity of the energetic exchange of looking your offspring into their eyes, another soul, a piece of you and a piece of the other person that you love the most, combined in this fucking amazing cosmic entanglement that just birthed this thing that you're now responsible for 24/7. And you want to look at something like that and harm that, you deserve to not live. You deserve to be exiled forever on a desert island where there is no hope of survival. No hope. Like in some fucking random far off land that's not even on the map. I can't fathom it. Especially now experiencing it firsthand. Like I always understood in a very, very small manner, like love for children. I kind of got it. But you don't really understand it until you do it, until you have your own. And now you have your own. You're like, oh my God, it's way worse than I imagined. People that want to harm kids are fucking psychopaths. And to a level that I didn't understand, to a depth that I could not understand until I've had my own. I didn't really know. I obviously knew they were fucking horrible people, but oh God, I couldn't even think for a second to hurt my daughter. Not a fucking chance on earth. Those are the individuals you should be fucking worried about, not whether someone says a joke about some fucking other guy for being, caramel. It's funny. And look, if they come up to you and they say, hey, I'd rather you not say that, and you continue to say it, okay, you're a dickhead. You deserve all the backlash from that. But if they don't say anything and you're like, yeah, it's funny, it's in jest, he calls you fucking cracker or whatever they say to white people, like, haha, you're a colonialist. And you're like, okay, fine, sure. That's all you got. That's all you got. Call me what you need to. It's so funny because I come from obviously a martial arts environment. Most of my time and most of my days now over the last 5 years have been inside a martial arts environment. And I think it's such an interesting subculture of individuals, because when physical repercussions are not only allowed but encouraged, like, you can call the guy whatever you want, but you've got to be willing to back it up. And it's just this, it's such a fascinating, it's such a fascinating existence inside that little chamber. Because anybody who listens to this, and I dare say the majority of you come from jiu-jitsu or martial arts or some sort of environment like that, it's a very, it's a meritocracy. It really is. Like, if you want to stand behind your work, you want to say something dumb, you got to stand behind it. And there's going to be physical repercussions. Whereas out in the world, you don't really get that. You can get away with a bunch of shit and never have physical consequences. Especially on the internet. Especially on the internet comment section. You can pretty much get away with saying whatever the fuck you want in comment sections on the internet and never have trouble come your way as a result of that. But in jiu-jitsu and martial arts, like, it's fair game. You just got to be willing to back it up. And I think that's why we kind of break down those like social barriers and those societal norms of things that are like appropriate to say, and no one really gives a fuck, because you could just get the guy back. Like, if it really was bothering you, like an adult, go up to them, say, hey, I'd rather you not say that. And if they don't listen, fucking flying Carney Basami at their knee and, maybe make their knee very hot and very sad for a couple of months. That's just the way that it is. I often joke about this, and this is just me thinking out loud, but trial by combat sounds pretty good to me. Like, theorize this in an imagined reality. You get pulled over for not doing anything too crazy, and they're just like, well, we're going to fine you now. And you're like, I challenge you to trial by combat. And they're like, okay, I don't want to fine you that badly anymore. And then you just go along your way. I don't know, maybe because you watch Game of Thrones, they do the whole trial by combat thing, and they owe like a significant debt, they can't pay it, and they're just like, all right, well, I'm going to nominate a champion, and the champions duke it out, they fight, whoever wins is the guy who's right. Sure, that's how they used to do it back in the day. I had an army, you didn't. I had boats. You didn't have any boats? Fuck, sucks to be you, buddy. I'm coming to take all your shit. And you watch Vikings. Me and the missus got into Vikings like maybe 2 years ago or something. And she would watch episodes without me, that feral fuck. You know, when you watch a TV show with your partner and you go to training and they keep watching the TV show, so you miss like 3 episodes, you come back and then they're visibly annoyed by you asking what happened, but they skipped episodes without you. But then I also understand it from their point of view, because fuck you, I'm not waiting for you to watch my show. You're leaving, that's your problem. Anyway, so we're watching Vikings, and Rolo fucks off to the French, and he's like, well, I know the Viking strategy. They're going to come on boats, and they're going to probably take this route because that makes the most sense. So let's just put up chains that are going to fuck up their boats. And it doesn't matter how angry or motivated the Vikings were to come and ruin the French's day. they didn't prepare to have chains go through the hulls of their boats and sink their ships. So deal with it. You lose. And then they did the firewall. They like tipped oil on them and then burnt them. That horrible, horrible. Imagine being burnt alive from oil. Like I did that thing on my Instagram story the other day where I showed how to fry an egg properly to get that weird egg white off the center of the yolk. You just use your finger, circle it, and then pull it off to the side. And then it cooks like the rest of the egg whites. You don't have that weird gooey texture on top that nobody likes. And I fucking burnt my finger doing it. And there wasn't even oil on the egg. It was just the egg, obviously. It's just hot. And then I think about the time that I've like touched my hand accidentally on a pan or something like that, and there's been oil in it. Fucking burns real bad, and it's just like the tiniest little bit of your fingertip. Imagine your whole body covered in that. Oh, what a horrible way to go. What a horrible, horrible way to go. I think the general idea around that is that drowning and being burnt alive are like the top two. But then, of course, you can't interview the people afterwards and say, hey, how bad was that for you to die? Because they're dead. I've always questioned that. I'm like, how do you know that it's the worst way to go? Do you somehow resurrect somebody who's drowned? I don't know. I don't ever see that being possible. How do they measure that? I don't know. I would assume, what would be the nicest way to go? The nicest way to go is probably in your sleep, you know, when you drift off in old age and just get to a certain point in your life where your body just goes, I've had enough. And then you just, I think honestly, I've experienced some death in my life, not as much as other people, but I've experienced some death, and it was actually someone who wasn't related to me, but they said that they were going to get transferred from one hospital to another. And it was on a Monday. And I said, I'm not going to that hospital. And it was real eerie. It was real prophetic, real eerie. And everybody involved kind of like took it on face value. Like as if she was being, just resistant or argumentative. You know, old people, they get kind of grumpy sometimes. And it wasn't that. It was because she had decided that she was going to go. That she was going to let go on the Saturday night. She was never going to make it to that hospital because it was too far away on the Monday, and she knew. I find that utterly fascinating. Like, do you get a tap on the shoulder from death where they go, like in the movies, they depict it with the guy in the cloak and he comes around with the scythe and he's like, hey, it's your turn now. Is it that? Do you get this weird feeling in your body, like this energetic feeling? I'm fascinated by that. I'm also fascinated, to go back to like cultural differences, the differentiation between, let's say, how people in Mexico appreciate death. They celebrate it because they recognize, I'm not up to date with all of the Mexican culture and how they specifically see death, but from my very small understanding, they see it in a completely different way that we see it in the West. It's a celebration of life moving to its next evolution or its next form, or obviously different denominations of faith all over the world. Like the Egyptians believe you're going to the afterlife and it's going to be amazing. Christians believe you're going to heaven, and all those sorts of things. And they look at it completely different to we do. Like in the West, we see it as such a travesty that this person's no longer here. And I'll tell you a cool story actually about this specifically. I did some self-development stuff with Dr. John D. Martini. I must have spoken about him last fortnight. And he said that if you look at individuals for their qualities, like whether they have a certain type of humor to them, or they have a certain type of outlook, or they move in a certain type of way. You could categorize everybody in your life by having very distinct personality traits, behaviors, and qualities. And the fascinating thing that he recognized was that when people move on, when they die, those qualities, just like, is it Newton's third law? Energy can be neither created nor destroyed, it just gets transferred. Those qualities get transferred. They don't get destroyed because they're energy. It's energetics. And so I'm at my best mate's mum's funeral. And I won't speak about how that happens. It's a very sensitive subject and it's not my place to say. And I'm usually pretty jovial, like pretty jokey. I'm not afraid of some, edgy jokes. I like seeing how far you can push the boundary because I think it's interesting. I think free speech should be upheld, and I think you should be able to say whatever you like and risk saying something stupid, because if you can't say anything stupid, then you may as well not say anything at all. You just got to deal with the consequence of the dumb shit you say, basically. And that's kind of my outlook. But anyway, we go to the funeral and we're at the wake afterwards, and we're in a group full of my high school mates, some of my best friends that I've known for over 15 years at this point. I've got one long-running friend who I've known since I was 6. And like, if I see him, I would still class him as a good mate. His name is also Josh, by the way. And so I've known him for 22 years. He's the person that I would still deem as like a good mate that I would go out of my way to help and see and all that sort of stuff. If he asked me to, of course. And if he sends me an Instagram message, I reply and give him whatever he's asking for. He asked me for like some supplementation stuff and all that jazz. But if he was ever to ask me like, hey, you want to go to dinner? Yeah, of course. Like, some people I've been friends with in the past who I've known as long would ask me that, but then I don't consider them a good friend anymore. So I'd probably say no. But he would be the distinction to that. And then aside from him, it's my best mates from high school. Anyway, so we're all standing around, and the energy's like pretty low because it's a funeral, and in Western culture we see death a specific way. And I don't even remember what I said, but it was pretty edgy. It was like edgy deluxe. I don't remember. I really don't remember, but I remember the response. My best mate Zach turns to me and he goes, "That's exactly what Mum would have said." And man, goosebumps. Every fucking time I tell that story. It's insane to think that I'd just learnt about qualities being transferred. I adopted the void of dark humor that his mum would have said if she was there, thereby changing my perspective on death and the relationship to it. Is that those qualities that you experience from that person, there's no need to long for them, because yes, the person is gone, but there'll be many different extrapolations of all the things that made them that are now in other people around you, and they will come to life through the other people around you. And Zach went through an extremely hard time, understandably, after that. And I also felt this need to go and be a support structure. And he said to me not long after that, after this very difficult period, it's probably about 18 months, maybe 2 years. He said, "You know what? You were the only one that made a substantial effort to be here through this time." And he goes, "I know I wasn't the best throughout this time because I was dealing with a lot of shit. I wasn't really that fun to be around. And I was making a lot of effort to go to him all the time, making sure I was there as a support, as a fucking friend should." And he goes, "You were the only one that never come in and told me to be any type of way, or you had no expectations of me, or you never really, you never gave me a kick up the ass to do something different or deal with it a certain way. You were just there." And he goes, "I can't tell you how valuable that was. That you just showed up And truthfully, looking back on that, I don't even know if it was really that conscious. It was more of like an unconscious thing that I just did. I didn't really see it as a challenge, or I didn't want to throw it back on him and say, you never come see me and fucking whatever. Never, not once. Never thought about it, not once. Truthfully, never thought about it. Never thought about like a differentiation in effort based on a friendship or anything like that. Never considered it. Not once. I can't help but think that it's the same thing that John DeMartini was talking about, where that was what was needed at the time from anybody. It just so happened to be me that was the one who had the availability and the means and the know-how to be able to facilitate some sort of support that he would have been getting from the people that are around him that have ceased to stay on this planet. I think it's fascinating to think about. And like I said, I've not experienced too much death in my own personal life in terms of grandparents or siblings or anything. Thank God. But the people around me definitely have. And it's fascinating to think about. Really, really fascinating. And I've seen it more than a handful of times to know that it's true. I 100% believe that it's true. And this is where I think to unify all of these themes of this episode, it's just because people tell you to think a certain way, don't. Or just because something's assumed, or someone tells you something's wrong. Is it? Just question things. I think curiosity is a very undervalued trait. People take a lot of things on face value and just okay, that's the way that it is. I really, I did Jordan Peterson's personality test, and it should come as zero surprise to anybody who's known me that I'm 99th percentile disagreeable. And sometimes that's a really fucking bad trait. Sometimes you're having an argument for literally no reason. And you think about it. I've done this with my missus heaps. I get to a certain stage in the argument. We just sit there quietly for a little bit. And then I'll apologize because I said, that was fucking stupid, wasn't it? You know what? I'm sorry for turning that into something that it shouldn't have been. Because that was retarded. Over trivial things that I can't even remember. I remember the feeling. I remember feeling extremely fucking awkward and tense and gross. Because you don't like arguing with your spouse. It's shit. But being able to recognize that and go, yeah, I was being a bit of a cunt. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's a very bad trait. Sometimes it's a fucking phenomenal trait. Like people telling you that you got to go get a job and work for some dickhead you don't want to work for to get some bullshit money that is never going to supply the life that you want. Fuck that, and fuck you for saying that that's the only way that it's going to happen. That's where disagreeableness comes into play, where it's a real superpower. Also in terms of achievement, like people told me that getting a black belt under 10 years was extremely fucking difficult, and you wouldn't be the one to do it. I was also told many times in my life that I would never make it as a professional rugby league player because I didn't make some fucking team when I was 12. Told that guy to go fuck himself too, and made it far further than he ever did. Which was actually a curse in disguise because I kind of fulfilled the ultimate achievement by telling him to go fuck himself and then doing what he never did. But then I also fell short of my own goal because I probably coasted a little bit after that. Which is fascinating to think about because the goals that you set actually do contain you to some degree. If you set the goal, let's say, for instance, to make $5,000 a month, you'll probably make 4. But if you set the goal for 10, you might make 8. So see, even if your goal was 5, realistically, if you just wanted to make 5, set the goal to make 10 because you have to stretch yourself to think in different ways. Like making 5 versus making 10 are entirely different things. You have to create a much larger surplus of value to command that sort of money. And then you go from 10 to 100, again, stretch goal. You got to think bigger. You got to think differently. You got to organize things in a different way. From 100 to a million a month. Most people's brains can't even conceive of that, because most people won't even make $10 million in their entire fucking lifetime, let alone in a year. And so you got to stretch what you believe is possible and achievable, and you got to change the way that you operate, and you've got to think about systems and structures, and you got to simplify things a lot. And stretch goals and being like slightly disagreeable, I wouldn't recommend going 99th percentile like I am to most people, because it's a weapon that needs to be wielded very carefully. From personal experience, you don't have to be. It is a extremely common trait among very successful people, because you think about it, and every origin story of every entrepreneur is one guy saying, fuck you, I think I can do it better. Chick-fil-A refuses to open on Sundays. Refuses. They're a publicly traded company. And all of their fucking board members are going, dude, we could make $4 billion extra dollars per year. Like they would fucking even need it. Because if you look into Chick-fil-A, they're killing it. They're smoking everyone. And they just don't do it because of their Christian values. You're not allowed to work on Sunday. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's so cool. Because you barely ever see it today. You barely ever see it. Sticking to some good fucking values. Because they could do it, but they won't. Because it was the grandfather of Chick-fil-A. I forget his name. He was just like, nah, I'm going to do it my way. And even their menu, to a certain degree, for a very long time, was just a couple of items. They're like, well, you can't do that, because you'll get defeated by McDonald's, because more products equals better. He goes, nah, I'm going to do it my way. Fuck you. Chicken sandwiches, as good as they're going to get. That's it. Simple, couple ingredients. Guess what? Supply chains, real simple to manage when you're only getting lettuce, pickles, sauce, and chicken. Real simple. Simplicity scales. That's the best way to do it. And he was just like, nah, fuck you. I'm going to do it my way. Even Raising Cane's, same thing. Look into their story. Really impressive. Really fascinating. Same thing. The guy's a weapon, and he just goes, nah, fuck you. I'm going to do it my way. There's only a couple things on the menu. The sauce is going to be the best. And you're just going to have to deal with it. Even Steve Jobs studied calligraphy. He's like, nah, the font has to be this. The design has to be this. He's the poster boy for disagreeableness. Apparently, he was a massive cunt to work for. But you cannot deny the success and the results. You can't deny it. Apparently, Tim Cook is very similar in his approach, where he's just steadfast. It is this way. Even Jeff Bezos is the same. He's a little bit less like, as far as I understand, he's a little bit less like authoritarian in terms of his decision-making skills. But, it's interesting. Everybody on the main decision-making board of Amazon, excluding Jeff Bezos, thought that Prime would be a steaming pile of shit, the streaming service. Thought that would be a steaming pile of shit, would never work. We're just diversifying too much. It's going to be a distraction. And he goes, okay, instead of, he said, she said, let's do it. And if it sucks, we'll stop doing it. And they were like, no, it's never going to work. He goes, all right, run it. See what happens. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar arm of their business. I think that's another really important lesson. Life hack, if you will. Bias everything with find out. Fuck around and find out. You never know where it's going to take you. And I'm not saying get into physical altercations on the street, because that's typically where that statement comes from. But fuck around and find out with the business. Oh, your family doesn't think it's going to work. Find out. Why not? Just pull the trigger. Oh, I get messages all the time of people. They're like, oh, I'm in my 40s and I started jiu-jitsu, but I've got a lot of injuries now and I don't know, should I keep doing it? I don't fucking know, mate. Do what you would like to do. If you like training, keep doing it. Find out how hard you can push yourself at 40. When did 40 become the new 80? It's not. My coach is 40. He's in fucking phenomenal shape. Trains once a day. 6 days a week. No problem. Great shape. Still very good. 40. It's just a limitation that you put on yourself, the whole age thing. And yeah, okay. I'm not going to be rolling like I'm 25 at 60. Maybe I am. Maybe I get my fucking consciousness transplanted into a robot. I would never do that. I think that whole dystopian live forever crap is just, ugh, gives me the chills. But seriously, that should be the motto. Fuck around and find out. You got an idea for a business? Go for it. Why not? I really like the saying, I haven't brought this up in a very long time. The time will pass anyway. So you may as well do it you may as well spend it in the pursuit of something cool. At the very least for the story. At the very least for the story. When your kids ask you one day, when they're in their 20s, like, what were you doing when you were my age? Oh yeah, I started this business and it went like really well for a couple of months and I made some really poor decisions and this happened, couldn't find good staff. And, you know, it was a limitation of my leadership expertise at the time. And I didn't really realize it then. And then I went through this trial and tribulation and then, you know, something else happened and then I just lost a bunch of momentum and lost a bunch of steam. But me and the boys used to use the company credit card to fly business to Dubai, and those memories I'll cherish forever. I literally just pulled that out of my ass, and it sounds like a fucking cool story. Maybe it is. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody has to be the super fucking Chad Andrew Tate millionaire that drives Bugattis and Paganis and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and whatever he fucking tells you every day. You don't have to. Maybe you earn just enough money through your business to write off some expenses to buy your dream car at 26. I did that. You know, this is crazy. I wanted to tell this story on the podcast. We'll finish up with this. I have told this before, but I've lost my license for 52 months when I was a 19-year-old moron. So basically from 19 to 23, I didn't drive legally. We'll just caveat that legally. And I obviously was taking a lot of public transport at the time, walking to bus stops and getting trains and these things. And I would look at cars. I would look at cars with such adoration, even just normal everyday cars, like very common cars. I remember the i30N had just come out, or the N wasn't even out yet. The SR was out, and I thought that thing was so cool. And I thought these very normal, regular cars were just amazing. And I think because I was so deprived of driving. And I was thinking about this the other day. And I bought a Sportivo Corolla. It's like $5,000 or whatever it was. And I drove that around. And I was so fucking happy just driving that thing. It was manual and it had a shitty interior. The aircon didn't work. And Penrith summers are brutal, and to have a car with no aircon riding windows down along the highway, just the whole way down. It was great on fuel. It was nippy. It was fast. It was all these things. It wasn't flash by any means, but I looked at that thing. I was like, yeah, it like kind of looks like a piece of shit. The hood's all faded with paint because they were built to be Japan vehicles, and the Australian climate is extremely different, so the paint reacts differently. And it was the best. It was the best. Cruising around in that thing was sick. And the depravity from not being able to drive allowed me to see that in such a different light. And I said to myself, I was like, one day I'll be doing enough to be able to drive like the i30 SR. That was as big as I was aiming at that point. I had no not a single aspiration at that time in my focus to drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or anything like super cool like that. Not even Mercedes. Mercedes was completely out of the question. And I was training guys who worked for Mercedes and who drove them. And I was in them, driving in them. I wasn't driving them. I was a passenger. And I wrote it off completely that it would never be available to me, just at that current time where I was at. And I finally just decided to stop believing in that. Just one day. I was like, why not me? Why not? And I think because I got over the period of where I wasn't driving, and I started to look at it a little bit differently, because I wasn't all the way down here looking at I-30s going, oh my God, that's so far away. I'd like upgraded a little bit to having a car that I could drive. And so I just looked a little bit further than where I was previously looking. And then I created the first edition of my course. Without building it, by the way. I was selling something that didn't exist, which is what you should do if you run a business. Sell it before you do it, because then you can prove that people want it, and then you can fulfill the orders later. As long as you don't run off with the money, by the way, like obviously. But don't build it before you sell it, because you waste a fuckload of time making something that no one wants. And then spend shitloads of money on something like that's just silly. Build it around those initial people, because they will really appreciate that. They will get the most time with you that anybody will have for the cheapest rate. At the very beginning, they'll get the most. Like in my mentorship now, there's only a handful of people. They're getting me for an hour to 90 minutes a week to just bang, answer as many questions as they have. As many questions as they have. You can't buy that outside the mentorship. You can't. You can't pay me for an hour of my time. It won't happen. I just don't want to do it. I don't do Zoom calls. I don't do meetings. Private lessons, I have priced at $500, knowing that most 99% of people will never pay it. Even if someone did offer me $500, I probably wouldn't do it. I want to do my own shit. I like marching to the beat of my own drum. I really don't like, having to be somewhere to do something that I don't really particularly want to do. Especially not a fucking meeting or a Zoom call. Ugh, yuck. Meetings. Biggest waste of fucking time ever. But they're getting the best, the most time for the most value at the very beginning. And they love it. They appreciate the fuck out of it. Because it's never going to be like that for long. Soon there's going to be 50 people in it. And they're going to get a little bit less of the time. But they were the ones who shaped it. They were the ones who built it. They're the founding fathers of the group, of that. They get to be right in there. And that's sick. No one else is going to be top 5. Like some of my best, longest serving students in the community, MJ and Matt. It's so funny. Both their names are Matt. I've only just recognized that. That's so funny. And Brad. Matt, and Brad. I think they were the first 3 members ever. And they're still there. I think that's so cool. I think that's fucking mad. That they just jump on it right from the very beginning and then just stay on for the ride. And those guys are OG founding members of this cool thing that now exists that helps people get better at jiu-jitsu in a simplified, structured, and systemized way. I've practiced that a lot. But it's mad. I've been a part of something similar where I was part of a business mentorship that didn't exist before I bought it. And there was like 20 of us that were involved. They discontinued it after one run because I think they wanted to pivot and change how they were doing things. But that's sick. I get to be in the first gen iteration. Like imagine buying one of the first iPhones or buying one of the first Macs or something like that. Sick. It's like an exclusivity thing you'll never get. And yeah, okay, maybe it's way shitter than what it is now. I'm sure like the iPhone, whatever we're up to, is way better than the first one, but there's no nostalgia for the current one. And apparently the current one sucks because you can bend it. It's like aluminium or whatever. But like to be the founding member right at the very beginning, there was an initial, I think I sold like an initial 30 spots in the first couple of days. And I was like, oh shit, I got to really put this together now. I've got people that are involved. I just put them all in a group chat, said, hey, course is coming soon. I never told anybody, but I was like, let me film it. But I was like, yeah, send me your jiu-jitsu questions. I want to answer them. Can't wait. And I got a bunch of guys sending me questions, sending me footage, and reviewed it, and then built it into this thing. It was really cool. And those guys that started at the very beginning are still there, still sending videos, still helping out members, still doing all the shit. Brad just got his purple belt the other week. It was fucking cool. Matt's running in his own gym. Other Matt competed No Gi Euros. I'm yet to find out how he went. Sick. And when I meet these people in real life, it'll be like we've been long lost mates. Sick. So cool. Literally, from just making a fucking TikTok account and having one video blow up and then me going, I need to capitalize on this now. I need to act now. And that created my whole thing. That literally created my whole business that I run today. And at the time, I wasn't even aiming at anything like super high or cool or anything like that. And like I was saying before, I was aiming for the i30 SR. I thought that was like God tier car. Obviously, I've been into cars the whole time, but I just didn't think it was available to me. And then all of a sudden, I'm just in a position to jump 50 levels and go C63S, which is a dream car at 26. Not many people can say they've done that. Like, I'm very grateful and very fortunate for being autistic. I genuinely am very grateful and very fortunate to have, first of all, the inclination of a dream. Like the first little taste of a dream in terms of like an idea or a thought or wherever dreams come from. I'm not even entirely sure. The cosmos or the ether, the universe, whatever you want to call it. But then to have, honestly, to have the balls to act on it. I know so many people that tell me so many things, they just never pull the trigger. And I'm even more eternally grateful to the people who have supported me in that process. It's a wicked, wicked thing. It's so cool. And obviously you have to build it before they are able to do that. But it's a union between the person who provides and the person who consumes. It's like a farmer back in the day. Everyone was super grateful for the farmer that was in the town because he was the one that fed everybody. And so you give him kickbacks, and, you know, if he was speeding in his ute and the local cop pulled him over, he'd be like, it's all right. You gave me some good beef last week. Don't worry about it. Because it was integral. And it's a little bit different now. Obviously, the whole world has changed. But super fucking grateful for the individuals that like decide that I'm the one that's going to get them better. Sick. Awesome. Some of them I met in person. Some of them travel all the way across the world to come to Sydney and then realize that Penrith is so far away from Sydney and then still pilgrimage out to Penrith to just come and train at the gym. Sick. Fucking awesome. It's great. And literally all that came from was posting shit on the internet, making videos and just not stopping. I haven't missed a day posting videos on either TikTok or Instagram since December of 2022. And we're about to be in December of 2025. 3 years straight. That's all it took. The time will pass anyway. I went from not driving to believing that I would someday, hopefully, be able to own an i30 SR, which is like a $30,000 car. I don't know. I don't even know I literally didn't even look it up. To jumping that and then several levels above that to going dream car 26, C63S in the Mercedes. And then planning to have a kid, realizing that a coupe is a horrible, horrible thing to have a child. Or to try and like chauffeur around a child. because you could barely even get in the back. I never actually got in the back because I don't think I would fit in the way that the seat would come down and the B pillow was just here. Very small space. It's basically a fake back seat. It's a 2-seater. They just put 2 seats in the back and pretended like that was somehow acceptable. To going RS6, which is absolutely fucking crazy because I was saving screenshots of that in 2017. Screenshotting pictures of RS6s, thinking like, yeah, one day that would be sick. But having no plan and absolutely no mechanism of having that ever happen. Dreaming about it, like that would be so cool. I used to watch Audi RS6 ABT in Germany, where they got the stupid exhausts on them and it sounds heavenly. It's previous generation of mine. I think the previous generation, possibly. This was a long time ago. And I would just watch those YouTube videos for hours. Like, it's an intoxicating sound. I was doing it last night. I was holding my daughter and we're watching Car Wow. SP1, SP2, SP3 Ferraris. Oh, man, what a lineup. This one Dutch company has a car collection. They've got all of them. They got the 1, the 2, and the 3. And the 3 is the Daytona, which is the best Ferrari ever made. One of the best Ferraris ever made, hands down. I would struggle to choose. I would take all of them if I could, but I would struggle to choose F40, SP3 Daytona, 812 Comp, Enzo. Yeah. SP3, 812 Comp, Enzo, F40, probably Luff. Yeah, that'd be the top 5. I think so. Yeah, that'd be the top 5. I would take all of them if I could. But that's like $40 million in cars and completely fucking ridiculous. Who knows? Who knows? I can still watch YouTube videos about them all I want. I will own a V12 naturally aspirated Ferrari in my lifetime. Guaranteed. You literally heard it here first. I will own one. I will stop at nothing until I get one. See, stretch your fucking goals. Like that's going to take a shitload of work. I know what that's going to require, and I'm still okay with it. I'm still on the hook for it. I don't give a fuck. I would hate to die without hearing the beautiful symphony of a naturally aspirated V12 Ferrari coming from the back end of my vehicle. Oh, V12 Vantage in the tunnel, also an amazing sound. But there's these things you have to aspire to, and this is kind of like where I got to with this story, and I just waffled. But you got to aim unbelievably high, and just go for it. Just aim to the highest degree that you possibly could think. Because at different stages, it's going to change as well. Because again, I thought at one stage an i30SR was a dream car. It really wasn't. I was just undercutting myself heavily. And then I blew right past it and went way further than I thought I would. I never really thought I'd be ripping it around in a fucking AMG. I really didn't. I used to think that the guys that I'd trained were just superheroes, basically. Because it didn't come from my family never fucking had any of that available to them whatsoever. I just thought they would just, it might be nice one day. Fuck that. I hate that sentence, might be nice one day. Change might be nice one day to when. If you do anything, if you listen to any word from this episode, change might be nice one day to when I do it. I just did it in front of you 40 seconds ago. Rewind it, listen to it. I will own, when I own, a Ferrari with a V12. When? Not if, not, oh yeah, I would really like that. Fuck that. When I own one. And now I'm accountable to the tens of you to do it. So, when you see it, you won't be surprised. But genuinely, you have to fucking set Ridiculous, audacious, ambitious goals. I'm going to be the only person in my entire genetic lineage, in the entirety of the history of my family names, I will be the only one who has ever done it. Fucking mad. And then I get to tell my kids that I was the only one that done it until my son does it. And he beats me. I want him to beat me at everything I've ever done, as he so chooses to be. Like, you know, I'm not going to force him to do the things that I've done so he can fucking beat me. That would be psychotic. But it's the whole analogy of my dad was walking to work. His dad drove, what was it? I forget the analogy. It's a black guy that says it. He goes, my dad was walking to work. His dad got the bus. His dad drove a Cadillac. I drove a Merc. My son will drive a Rolls. His son will be walking to work. I was like, wow, isn't that interesting to think about? Isn't that interesting to think about? It's a cool little analogy, basically for like how the cycles of things go through, because, you know, they don't really appreciate it. Second generation wealth never really appreciate it. But I'm going to use the whole like Shaquille O'Neal thing, or Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey's like, listen, brother, I'm rich, not you. I love that so much. Steve Harvey and Shaq basically said the same thing to their kids. They're like, brother, I am rich, not you. And then Shaq went even further and said, 2 degrees. You give me 2 degrees, you go to university, you get degrees, 2 of them, you'll get some inheritance someday. I mean, yeah, of course, they get to live in a $40 million house while not technically having inherited anything. But I love that sentiment. Love that sentiment. Like, of course, I'm going to fucking leave my kids some shit left over, but you're going to earn it. You can't just get given things. That's not how the world works. You get given shit, you squander it, you don't appreciate it, and then it's gone. That's another good lesson, another good life hack. Don't wish for easy shit. Don't do it. Easy shit, easy come, easy go. It's a fucking aphorism for a reason. It's been around since the dawn of time. Don't wish for easy shit. Wish for the hard stuff. Struggle, strain, get tested, challenge yourself. Get fucking broken and then build yourself back up. Like kintsugi, the Japanese bowl art where they use the gold in the seams of the cracks. That's the shit. That's the best. Because that's the stuff that makes you interesting. The things that are broken down. The struggles, the strains, the challenges, the obstacles, the hurdles you had to overcome to become the person who you are now, currently. No one cares about the person who got the fucking free ride all the way to the top. Who gives a shit? Like, if you got a helicopter at the top of Mount Everest and said you climbed Everest, fuck you. Boring. Next. Show me the guy that did it properly. Show me the guy that struggled, that thought that he was going to die on the way up and still conquered it. That's the one I want to listen to. I want to have dinner with that guy. I don't want to have dinner with you. You fucking cheated to get to the top. Not interested. Tell me the guy who fucked his life up first and then put it back together. I don't want to hear the guy that's all fucking sunshine and rainbows. Boring. Next. Give me the guy that went through insurmountable circumstances and still came out with a smile on his face. Should have been defeated by life at every step and just went, nah, not me. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to prove it to everybody that I'm the fucking man, and that's that. I want to listen to that guy. That's why I'm not a huge Goggins fan, but I respect him because of what he's done. He went from being whatever 100 pounds and turned his fucking life around. That nobody should have ever heard of that guy. No one. No one should have ever heard of that guy. Everybody knows him now. Just from running and changing his life around. Deciding. And just going, you know what? I'm going to fucking hate this, but I'm going to hate it like I love it. That's the secret sauce. You got to do it like you love it, even if you hate it. You know what? Another life hack. You want to get as good at something as possible, as fast as possible. Just find a way to love it. Find a way to really enjoy it. Even if you don't at the very beginning. Jiu-jitsu is fucking hard in the beginning. It's hard now. It's hard in the beginning. Because you're just eating shit sandwiches all day, every day, twice on Sunday. This stupid little fucking 70-kilo guy is just mopping you. And you're like, that's not meant to happen. The laws of the jungle have betrayed me. And then you realize that you just got to learn a little bit about a little bit. And then you go, oh, okay. And then you get a tiny little morsel of success. And it's a tiny little win. And you get smashed for like another 3 weeks. And you get a tiny little win. And then eventually, those flip. You start making more sense of it. You start getting a little bit of momentum. You get smashed a little bit less. And the wins get a little bit bigger and more frequent, more common. And you're like, ooh, I like this. The real hard part about the beginning is loving getting the tiny little win. More than you hate getting smashed. Because the guys that hate getting smashed never make it. They never make it. That's the secret. Love it. Love it even if you hate it. Hate it like you love it. Then you'll get where you want to go. Anyway, this has been an absolute fucking pleasure. As always, never a chore. See you guys probably next week, I think. Nick's moving out, so we might not have a studio, or I will be coming to you from my home studio. We just got to figure out some logistics of how we're going to do it, but I'm going to keep this motherfucker going because I really enjoy it. And I know a lot of people reach out to me as a result of listening to the podcast and say that it's opened up new worlds for them. So who am I to be a selfish fuck to not figure out how a battery pack for a camera works or buy a big enough SD card so I can film these episodes to stop you wonderful people from enjoying, for some strange reason, the fucking absolute rubbish that comes out of my mouth. Anyway, always a pleasure, never a chore. Enjoy whatever day it is that you finish listening to this episode, and I shall see you soon.